Have you ever thought what would happen if Aang was not the Avatar? But instead, what if Toph was the one master of all four elements? Yes, the blind girl that everyone keeps forgetting is blind. And we're going to use Aang as a scale for this. We'll rank Toph out of 100, with 100 being Aang's level at that point of the story. Now, let's see what Toph looks like as the Avatar, and whether she matches Aang by the end. In this timeline, Toph is born blind into an air nomad family at the Southern Air Temple. She grew up reading the world through the air. She feels movement in the currents, the pressure of someone standing nearby, the shift in breathing before a person lies or swings. She's good enough at this that most people don't notice she's blind right away. She is 12 when Sozin's comet arrives and the Fire Nation attacks. But before that night of the comet, Toph was a kid at a temple full of monks who had no idea what to do with her. She is loud, she breaks things by accident, and sometimes on purpose, and she has no patience when learning. Every monk who tries to teach her hits the same wall. Teaching a blind child is not an easy task, especially when the kid is as eccentric as Toph. She has to feel it, which means doing it first and getting corrected after. That means doing it wrong in front of people, and Toph hates that. Gyatso figured out another approach. He described what he was doing in terms of how it felt from the inside, not what it looked like from the outside. Toph could work with that. She followed him around because he never talked down to her. Then came the night of the comet. Toph wakes up to the sound of people panicking. Gyatso picks her up and places her on a sky bison, not explaining anything, just moving with the urgency adults use when they don't want you to know how bad things really are. Eventually, Toph ends up frozen, just like Aang in the original story. Katara finds her in the ice the same way she found Aang. She cracks the sphere open, and what comes out is not a boy with a wave and a smile. What comes out is a girl who woke up alone, in the dark, in a place she has never touched, with no seismic sense and no air she recognizes. It takes Toph a few minutes to get her bearings. Now that she's our last airbender, let's be clear. Toph's airbending is not Aang's airbending. Aang's style is the air nomad tradition, as it was meant to be taught. He fights without force, because the philosophy doesn't ask for it. Toph learned to airbend with no one correcting her. She was a kid in a temple full of monks who were, at various points, trying to figure out how to teach a blind girl something that relies on watching others do it first. What she built was her own. She hits with air. She packs it tight and releases it fast, like a fist, because she needs to feel the impact. When Katara first sees her train, she asks where she learned the style. Toph says she didn't learn it. She just did what worked. This works for now, but it will cause problems as the story goes on. But before that, there is one part of airbending Toph cannot do. Flying. She can feel the air move, but she has no way to confirm where things are. To read an obstacle, she has to map how much wind it blocks. She has to do this in every direction at once, while flying where she wants to go. One moment of hesitation, and she falls. For now, she can fly close to the ground, and not for long, because at least that way, she knows what's below her. So at this point in the story, Toph scores around 60 out of 100 compared to Aang. Coming back to the story, Zuko finds them at the Southern Water Tribe within days of Toph waking up. He attacks the village looking for the Avatar. Toph fights him on the ice, and the fight is close. Closer than it should be, because she has no seismic sense on frozen ground, and her air sense is not built for open water. Katara and Sokka pull her out on Appa, and they run. After that, Toph wants to find earthbending. While Toph knows that waterbending makes more sense, she's simply drawn to earthbending as it is more in character for her to be good at earthbending. Still, Katara says there is no time. The comet has a deadline. They need waterbending first. Sokka sides with Katara. Toph gets on Appa because the mission matters more than the argument, but she does not drop it. She is still thinking about the fight on the ice for the rest of the week. Eventually, they stop at the Southern Air Temple on the way north. Toph lands on the temple steps and feels the ruins before she walks inside. Just like Atla's third episode, this is where they find Gyatso's remains. Sokka and Katara give Toph the space to grieve. Neither of them speaks. Whatever Toph does with that grief, she does it alone. She comes out of the temple quieter, and she stays that way for a day. Then she tells Sokka to start flying north, and she sits at the back of Appa and does not say anything else about it. Now it's time for Toph's first new bending, earthbending. While their aim is waterbending, here's what happens. The first Earth Kingdom town they stop in is where things change. Toph ends up exploring around and finds a cave. And in this timeline, Toph learns earthbending the same way she does in the Atla timeline, by mimicking badger moles, the original earthbenders. After spending a few days in the caves, Toph can officially use earthbending. While she's not yet a master earthbender, learning earthbending helps Toph grow tremendously. It's more like being handed back something she did not know she was missing. The understanding of her power deepens across the whole first book at a pace pace that she drives hard, faster than anyone around her thinks is wise, because Toph wants more of it, and she does not see the point in going slow. This puts Toph at 90 out of 100 when compared to Aang at this point of the story. But what Toph lacks is confidence. She can feel the seismic information, but she subconsciously hesitates at times whether to believe it. And in the fights that matter in Book 1, that gap shows. Anyway, Zuko continues to chase them north. He finds them on Kyoshi Island, at an Earth Kingdom canyon, on a river crossing, and every fight ends in a draw. Sokka watches these fights and tells Toph specific things he notices afterward. Her footwork changes when she is reading the ground versus when she is just reacting. She listens to him. They both pretend it is not important. For the main part of Book 1's story, Zhao captures Toph near the halfway point of the journey. Sokka gets sick from a storm, and it transfers onto Katara as well, so Toph goes alone to find a cure. The Yuyan archers take her from a distance before she can feel them coming. They pin her to a tree with arrows, and she cannot bend what she cannot touch. They bring her to a Fire Nation stronghold in metal chains, and the metal does not respond to her. She is chained to 2 pillars in a cell, and she is genuinely stuck, which almost never happens, and she hates it. The blue spirit comes in that night. Toph feels the footwork through the floor before Zuko reaches her cell. Whoever this is, they have been trained for a long time. The weight is controlled, the footwork exact. He breaks her out and they move through the corridor together without speaking. She does not need direction, and he does not offer any. There is a silence between them that is not the silence between enemies. He grabs her arm in a corridor to pull her through a gap between guards. Contact, his heartbeat, his weight, the specific tension in the grip of someone doing something they have decided to do, but are not at peace with. Toph knows who he is, but says nothing. They fight to the tree line together, and Zhao's soldiers hit Zuko, and he goes down. Toph could leave, but she drags him into the trees and waits. Zuko eventually wakes up and reaches for the mask. Toph is sitting nearby, not hovering. She is not pointing her face at him the way sighted people do. She is just there. She says, "You're the prince," and Zuko goes still. Zuko fires at her just like the canon timeline. Toph deflects it without standing, the air from her palm pushing the flame sideways. She stands, turns, and walks back into the trees. She comes back to camp and gives Sokka and Katara the frozen frogs and sits down. Sokka asks if she made any friends out there. Toph says no. She does not tell them about Zuko. She knows that telling the group about her interaction with Zuko could complicate things. The North Pole Siege happens in February, 3 weeks after they arrive. Katara trains under Master Pakku for those 3 weeks and moves fast because she has already passed most of his students. Toph spends those weeks fighting Fire Nation soldiers on ice, which gives her worse information than any terrain she has fought on before. She adjusts. She holds the walls. Zhao reaches the spirit oasis at the center of the city, while Toph is on the wall. Toph has been told about the oasis before the siege. 2 fish, the moon, the ocean, something important. She registered it and went back to the wall where the fighting was. Zhao kills the moon spirit while Toph is on the wall. The light changes. The color drains from everything. Toph is standing on the ice, and the only thing she knows is that something enormous just happened somewhere she was not. Yue gives her life to bring the moon back, and the light returns to the world. Toph stands on the wall and feels Katara's shoulder shaking through the ice. She feels Sokka becoming very still. She does not say anything because nothing fits inside what just happened. Toph carries this loss across the next book. She never says it out loud, but the way she moves changes in ways she does not notice, and Katara does. Later, the group leaves the North Pole in March, and the wait is different from the start. Katara is a waterbending master now. Sokka has plants. Toph has airbending and earth that is still growing, and nothing else. 3 people where there should be 4, heading into the Earth Kingdom toward Ba Sing Se. Every fight from here has thinner margins than it should. Zuko and Iroh are wandering the Earth Kingdom as fugitives, and Azula is hunting all of them. 2 separate chase stories are running at the same time, and the group does not know about either one yet. The Fire Nation drill reaches the outer wall of Ba Sing Se in April. It is built to punch through the wall and let Fire Nation soldiers pour into the city. In the original story, stopping it requires 2 benders working together from the inside. Toph tries to do it alone. At this point, Toph is actually stronger than Aang. She should be at least 105 out of 100. This is because Toph manages to get inside through an air shaft and tears through the internal supports with everything she has, earth and air together, collapsing the structure from the inside. It works, and the drill stops, but the inner wall gets breached slightly before she seals it, leading to some injuries. Ba Sing Se's commanders watch this and say nothing. The Avatar is a 12-year-old blind girl who just barely stopped their wall from falling. Not what they pictured as the Avatar, after all. Next, the Sandbenders take Appa. Unfortunately, there's no Earthbender watching him, as they're 1 man less throughout the journey. The group is split. Toph is elsewhere, and the sandbenders move fast. By the time Toph feels the trail through the ground, it has already gone cold. She follows it for 2 hours before losing it entirely. She tells them the trail went cold. She does not tell them she spent 2 hours following it first. Sokka looks at her face and does not push. They spend weeks without Appa. On foot, slower, more exposed. Every time they need to move fast, the absence is felt. Sokka reroutes plans around it. Katara carries more. Toph pushes her earthbending harder than she should to compensate for what she cannot do in the air. Coming to Ba Sing Se, it is a city built on the agreement not to talk about the war. Long Feng runs that agreement with real skill. He meets the group and tells them the war is not discussed inside the walls. Toph feels every lie in the room through the floor. In canon, the group plays the political game carefully, slowly, feeling out the edges of Long Feng's power before moving. Toph does not do that. Toph tells Long Feng directly that she can feel when people are lying and asks him to stop. Long Feng looks at her with the way people look at a problem they had not accounted for. He adjusts. He does not stop lying, but he starts working faster, tightening his hold on the Dai Li before the group can build any momentum against him. Toph pulls the thread she can feel before the group is ready. The power vacuum she opens gives Azula room she would not otherwise have had. The chaos is spread around enough that blame is spread around too, but Toph knows what she did, and she does not argue when Katara says it to her face. The Dai Li are a problem throughout. Their earth gloves are built to restrain benders, and Toph cannot bend metal yet. Every encounter with them, she is one bad grab away from being locked down completely. They figure this out after the first fight and start targeting their hands. Azula corners Toph twice in Ba Sing Se. Azula does not fight in straight lines. She's precise in a way that makes precision feel threatening, and she reads people well enough to put them somewhere the only exits are bad ones. She figures out early that Toph's seismic sense has edges, surfaces where the information gets noisy, and she pushes from those edges. Loose rubble, wet stone, churned ground from a previous exchange. The second time Azula corners Toph, with no good ground and no room to build air pressure, Toph reaches for fire. She's been practicing alone for weeks. Toph wants to improve her range, something that works at a distance when the ground is bad. While there are some results, Azula still manages to corner Toph. In a moment of desperation, Toph decides to use firebending. She reaches for it, and it goes wide. Hoping to hit Azula no matter where she dodged to, Toph ends up sending her flames towards Katara too. Katara drops under it fast, and for a moment, neither of them moves. Toph cannot see Katara's face, but she can feel her breathing. The fast, hard expansion of someone who nearly just had their face burned off. Toph stops, and Azula takes the opening and leaves. Toph puts fire training on hold for now. The next morning, Toph finds Katara and says she needs to learn water. She does not apologize. She does not explain. Katara looks at her for a moment. She says, okay, when do you want to start? And they begin training that same afternoon. Without the waterbending, Toph has actually dropped to 85 out of 100 against Aang. This is primarily because Toph lacks finesse and a deeper understanding of her abilities. Toph, who is not only blind, also lacks the same level of battle IQ as Aang, who's a lot more free. And Toph's stubbornness makes teaching her waterbending a real task for Katara. We all know that water has no fixed form. It moves constantly, and the information Toph gets from it keeps changing, and she has to learn to read something that will not hold still. Meanwhile, Toph and Katara keep getting into arguments. Toph is angry at needing help, and the person she needs help from is the person she almost burned. Asking Katara to teach her feels like asking Katara to close a wound Toph opened. What comes out instead are complaints about pace and technique. Katara knows this. She does not say no. She shows up every morning ready to continue. Katara shows up without making Toph explain herself, without holding the fire incident over her. After 3 weeks, something between them shifts. The sessions get quieter. Toph stops fighting the pace. She does not become a patient person, but she becomes someone who can be patient when the thing in front of her requires it. The Dai Li take Toph and Katara underground near the end of Book 2. The crystal catacombs run deep under Ba Sing Se. Toph can feel the whole structure through the rock, but she could not get out. The restraints on her hands are metal, and the metal does not move. Zuko is brought down separately. He and Katara end up in the same chamber. Toph is nearby on the other side of a crystal wall, close enough to feel through the ground. He sits across from her and tells her fire comes from breath. From the moment just before the breath, the decision to push. He tells her it's not about heat, it is about intention. She listens in the way she listens to things that matter, without moving, without responding, just taking it in. She already has the control from water. That is what she was missing before. Not the fire itself, but the ability to hold it. The first time she produces a clean flame, Zuko goes quiet for a moment. Then, He tells her to do it again. They train like this for weeks. The group watches and says nothing. Sokka makes one joke and Toph sends a rock past his ear without turning around, and he does not make another. Now, Toph is at 90 out of 100 when compared to Aang. While Toph has made great progress, she isn't a master of the bending techniques like Aang was. Toph has a stronger affinity to earthbending. The Dai Li catches Toph alone in the Earth Kingdom during one of their supply runs. They've learned a lot from Ba Sing Se. They bring a metal box this time, not earth restraints, because someone in the ranks remembered what she could and could not bend. They seal her inside and leave her there. Toph sits in the dark in the metal box and feels the walls. She has felt metal before, and it's always stopped her in the past. But sitting in the box with nothing else to do and nowhere to go, she presses her hands flat against the wall and stays there. She's not trying to bend it yet. She's just feeling it, just like the way she felt the Badger Mole's cave the first night. Metal is earth, refined, compressed, changed, but earth underneath all of it. She can feel the original shape of it if she goes deep enough. The same certainty that moves rock can move this, if she finds the thread of what it still is, rather than fighting what it became. She finds the thread, and the wall folds. She walks out of the box into the open and stands there for a moment. Then, she bends the box into a flat sheet, picks up her things, and goes back to camp. She does not tell the group right away. She tells them at dinner, the way she tells them most things, without ceremony. Katara stops eating. Sokka knocks over his food. Zuko looks at her for a long moment, and then looks away, and she can tell from his breathing that he's thinking about something he's not going to say. The day of Black Sun comes on August 1st. The eclipse lasts for 8 minutes. Toph fights without fire to protect the advantage, and her earth and air are enough for everything on the battlefield. It does not matter though, because Ozai is not at the palace. The invasion hits an empty room. They retreat. Toph sits on Appa on the way back and feels the ground getting further away and does not say anything for a long time. Sokka sits next to her. Neither of them speaks. After a while, she says they will get another chance. Sokka says he knows. They both mean it. Sozin's comet arrives on the last day of summer. Ozai burns the ground before the fight has been going 2 minutes. Not randomly, he reads the shape of how she operates and goes after it. Molten rock transmits noise instead of signal. Ash covers the surface. The seismic sense goes unreliable, and she shifts to air sense, which is thinner and slower. And the comet is making his fire move faster than anything she's trained against. Toph takes damage, but she keeps moving. Ozai knows that Toph can't break this stalemate, and he simply has to wait. But here's what Ozai does not know. Toph has been holding her whole life. She feels Zuko's heartbeat when he sits down near Katara. She has felt that heartbeat before, in a corridor under a Fire Nation stronghold, in the grip of someone doing something they had decided to do, but were not at peace with. She knew who he was that night, and she has said nothing since. She listens through the ground while Katara and Zuko talk. She feels the moment Katara's breathing changes. The shift from guarded to something more open. She feels Zuko go still when Katara offers to heal his scar. She feels him lean forward. Then Azula arrives. Toph feels Zuko's heartbeat change when he hears Azula's voice. The specific change of someone who has just been handed a door and is deciding whether to walk through it or close it. She feels him stand. She feels him move to Azula's side. The fight comes through the walls. Azula's lightning hits Toph and the ground goes away. Katara reaches her with the spirit water, the same water she was about to use on Zuko's scar. Toph comes back. It takes longer than it should, and she is not fully present for the first hour, just breathing. Just there. Ba Sing Se falls. The group escapes on Appa. Toph is unconscious for weeks, and the Earth Kingdom believes the Avatar is dead. Eventually, Toph wakes up on Appa somewhere over the ocean. The first thing she feels is that the ground is gone. It takes her a moment to understand she is alive. The second thing she feels is Katara next to her, close enough that Toph can feel her breathing. Katara does not say anything. She just stays there. Sokka tells her what happened. Ba Sing Se fell. The Earth Kingdom thinks the Avatar is dead. They've been flying for 3 days. Toph lies there and does not respond for a long time. Then she asks where they are going. Sokka says the Fire Nation. They hide inside it. It's the last place anyone will look. Toph says okay and closes her eyes again. They spend weeks in the Fire Nation disguised as locals. Toph wears Fire Nation red and keeps her feet bare because she needs the ground, and she's not giving that up for anyone. Sokka tells her that bare feet are suspicious, so she tells him to find a better option. They do not have a fourth member. Every situation that needs more than 3 people is solved with fewer. Sokka plans tighter. Katara stretches further. Toph pushes her earth past where it's comfortable because the gap has to go somewhere. The water training continues through all of this. Toph and Katara work through it the same way they work through everything now without making it a thing. Katara shows up, Toph is there, they go until the light is gone. Zuko finds them at the Western Air Temple. He comes alone. No Iroh, no soldiers, no leverage. He stands at the edge of the temple and tells them he wants to help, that he knows he has no right to ask, that he will leave if they say no. And the group's answer is no. Katara's answer is a threat. Sokka's answer is a list of reasons. Toph's answer is different. She tells them about the blue spirit. Toph tells them she is known since book 1, and she did not say anything because she did not know what to do with it yet. And Aang kept the same secret after the same night, and she is not sure she was wrong to wait. Katara is angry for a moment, but she understands that the situation is complicated and honest enough to admit it. She tells Zuko that if he steps out of line once, she will take him down herself. Then she walks away, which is the closest thing to a yes she has. So Zuko officially joins the group, and his main job right now is teaching firebending to Toph. Teaching Toph firebending is a different problem from teaching anything else. Zuko cannot demonstrate and expect her to copy him. She cannot watch. He has to find a way to describe fire from the inside, the same way Gyatso described airbending to her when she was small, in terms of what it feels like rather than what it looks like. She grew up in a world not built for her and navigated it through pressure and vibration and currents that most people never notice. Fighting on bad terrain with partial information against someone who is stronger is not a new problem. It's the problem she's always had, just bigger. Toph does not need to win on points. She needs to get close enough to touch him. She grabs his arm to stop a strike and feels something she has never felt before. Underneath the fire, underneath the bending, there was a thread. The same thing she felt in the metal box. The source before it becomes a thing. She found that thread in metal, and she did not let go until the wall folded. And she finds it again now. The Avatar state arrives the same way it always does for Toph. Not from stillness, from knowing exactly what she's protecting. With the power of friendship, Toph has reached 95 out of 100 of Aang's power at this point. This might be controversial, but I genuinely believe that Toph would be an amazing Avatar. It's just that her spiritual connection isn't as strong as Aang's. Still, Toph is fighting for Katara, who showed up every morning. Sokka, who brought food and sat next to her without speaking. Zuko, who stood in front of a weapon meant for someone else, because that is what you do when you're part of a group. She finds the thread in Ozai and holds on until the connection breaks. Ozai's fire is gone. She lets go and sits down on the burned ground and breathes. The war ends. Zuko becomes Fire Lord. Katara visits home for a while. Sokka does both at once somehow, which is typical. Meanwhile, Toph stays. The ground under the Fire Nation capital is old and deep, and she can feel the shape of everything built on top of it, the history of it, the weight. She walks through the city barefoot and reads it the way she reads everything, through the soles of her feet and the palms of her hands, taking inventory. She's not the Avatar the world expected. She never was. She is the one they got, and the one they got walked out of a metal box and folded the wall and kept going. And she's still on her journey. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and click on this video next for more great anime content. Go on, check it out.